Chachang. I am from Group 5. In this video, we will discuss a social phenomenon that recently been discussed, namely the narrative Orang Miskin, Dilarang Sarjana. Through this topic, we want to invite you to see how language can show power and social inequality, especially in education. Our paper used a Norman Fairclough critical discourse analysis theory to explore how the media portrays the difference between the social class of the rich and the poor through the language use. From this analysis, we found that word choice and language style in the news can reflect ideological views as if higher education is only right for those who can afford it. Now, for more complete explanation of the result of the analysis, we will be explained by my friends below.
In 2024, the phrase orang miskin dilarang sarjana or poor people are forbidden to be graduate went viral across social media. It appeared after many university students in Indonesia protested against the rising to term fees known as UKT. For many people, this phrase was not just sarcasm, it became a cry of frustration and a symbol of social media criticism. Online news portal such as Detik.com, Masuk PTN, and Poltek Harapan Bersama highlighted this issue, and thousands of netizens reacted to it. The phrase captures a harsh reality that higher education in Indonesia still feels like a privilege for the rich. Therefore, it represents more than just work. It reflects people's disappointment and shows how language can be used to question power and inequality.
In this part, we analyze the text at the linguistic level, focusing on how language represents power and equality. The phrase "orang miskin dilarang sarjana" use strong emotional language. The word dilarang or forbidden gives a sense of repression. It implies that poor people are not allowed to study. This is not literal prohibition, but a symbol one showing how economic barriers can exclude the poor from education. In another sentence, mahasiswa dari keluarga tidak mampu mengeluhkan UKT yang tinggi. The word mengeluhkan carries a negative tone. It portrays poor students as complainers, as if their protest is morally emotional rather than reasonable. On the other hand, the phrase keluarga mampu tidak merasa keberatan sounds calm and natural. The word mampu suggests ability and stability, creating a positive image for the rich. This contrast between mengeluhkan and tidak merasa keberatan construct two social positions. The poor are represented as troubled and powerless, while the rich are represented as comfortable and normal. This is what Fairclough calls the ideological function of language, when certain word choice reproduce social hierarchy and inequality. At the same time, the headline "Orang miskin dilarang sarjana" also works as an ironic metaphor. It expresses public frustration toward rising tuition fees and symbolizes the feeling that education has become a privilege for the rich. The irony turns this phrase into from a protest. Language becomes a weapon to criticize injustice. In conclusion, the textual analysis shows that the news text use everyday words to reflect power relation. Though contrast metaphor and tone, it subtly divides society into the privileged and the marginalized, proving that language is never
Level, the study found that the phrase orang miskin dilarang sarjana or poor people are forbidden to go to college is used ironically to criticize structural inequality in education. The word forbidden reflects authority and exclusion, as if education were a privilege reserved for certain social groups. Students or of families are often presented with neutral or even positive connection. This indicates a class bias in the choice of words and in the way the media frames the issue of education. At the level of discursive practice, this phrase did not only appear in one news outlet but spread widely across multiple news portals and social media platforms. This demonstrates in intertextuality, how a single text is reproduced and reinterpreted by society. When people share and respond to this news, they are actually creating a form of linguistic resistance toward a system perceived as unjust. In other words, the discourse becomes a language of protest and a symbol of solidarity among students and the wider community. At the social level, this discourse reflects economic inequality and educational policy issues in Indonesia. The increase in tuition fees and limits scholarship opportunity reinforce the ideology that higher education is only accessible to those who are financially capable, according to Fairclough and Van Dijk. This is how language functions to legitimize social inequality. However, in this context, the same language is used by society to challenge and expose that very structure of injustice. The phrase orang miskin dilarang sarjana is not merely sarcasm, it becomes an ideological act of resistance. From this analysis, we can conclude the language has the power to shape social reality through discourse like orang miskin dilarang sarjana. We can see how people use language to criticize injustice and fight for educational equality. That concludes my explanation of the findings and discussion.
At the social level, the phrase poor people prohibited for getting a degree reflect the inequality within Indonesian education system. While education is often promoted as a right for everyone, that really is different. The rising cost of tuition fees or UKT has made higher education a privilege for those who can afford it. For many families, university dreams are replaced by the struggle of daily survival. These situations show how language and power are closely connected. When government officials describe tuition increase as adjustment or effort to improve quality, the language sounds natural, even reasonable. Yet, behind those words lies a system that continues to include the poor. Van Dijk theory or critical discourse reminds us that discourse is not just about words, it's about who control meaning.
Language can normalize inequality. It can make unfair conditions seem natural, though speechless media headlines and official statements. People begin to accept that education is expensive, that if it must always be the way. The media also plays a role. These student demonstrations appear on television or social media. The focus is often on the chaos, on the shouting, on the clashes, the traffic jams, rather than on the real issue, the struggle for equal access to education. This portrays influence public opinion, making protesters appear as troublemakers instead of a voice of justice. However, language is not only a tool of domination. It can also be a tool of resistance when students raise banners that say education for all or can turunkan UKT. They are reclaiming the power of word. They use discourse to fight back and question authority and to demand change. Van Dyck explained that every act of speaking is also an act of power. Through language, people construct reality. And when that language changes, society begins to change too. Therefore, the social impact of language is not abstract. It is visible in daily life, in who gets to study, who gets to speak, and who gets to live behind. The struggle over words is, in truth, the struggle over power, justice, and the right to a better future.
Is not only a protest but also a reminder that language can fight inequality. Through critical discourse analysis, we understand that awareness of language is the first step toward social justice. Nah, jadi karya ini menggambarkan social inequality dalam dunia pendidikan, di mana kemiskinan menjadi main barrier bagi seseorang untuk meraih gelar sarjana. Pendidikan yang seharusnya menjadi everyone's right justru terasa eksklusif bagi mereka yang mempunyai financial capable. The main message yang ingin disampaikan adalah masih banyak anak bangsa yang mempunyai spirit dan ability, tetapi terhambat oleh kondisi ekonomi. Oleh karena itu, dibutuhkan social awareness and justice agar pendidikan benar-benar bisa dinikmati oleh semua kalangan tanpa memandang status ekonomi.